The Chinese tech tree in War Thunder got a new premium jet at BR 10.0, the A-5C. Let's dig in. A couple of things up front. During the production of this review, I saw a note from the devs that they're changing the loadouts for the A-5C and adding an additional set of wing pylon-mounted rocket pods. This will make the plane more accurately reflect the real-life aircraft, so as you're watching this, just keep in mind that 2 additional rocket pods are coming sometime in the short term. Also, this is my first review of a premium vehicle, and the A-5C is basically just a slightly upgraded version of the Q5, which I've already reviewed. If you haven't seen it, go watch my Q5 review. Most of it will apply to this plane as well. As a result, this review will be slightly different and focus on the nature of the A-5C as a premium aircraft. Most of the history of this vehicle was covered in my Q5 review, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that here. The A-5C is the export version of the Q5-3. That's Roman numeral 3, not III. This version had a total of 10 weapon hardpoints, 4 under the fuselage and 6 under the wings. What's in-game right now is missing 2 of the wing pylons, but as a reminder, the devs are adding them in at some point. This is a transonic ground attack strike fighter, and was exported mainly to Pakistan. Pakistan used this plane right up until 2011, and it saw quite a bit of combat a number of times. The A-5C gets some pretty basic weapon loadouts with a mix of 4 dumb bombs, 2 rocket pods, and 2 air-to-air missiles. Another reminder that more rocket pods are coming. One noteworthy detail is that since this plane was built for export, it carries Western munitions instead of Chinese munitions. The bombs are pretty obvious even at a quick glance, but you also carry Western missiles. Since this is a premium plane, it comes fully spaded, so right from the start you can choose between the AIM-9P or the Matra R550 Magic. Now, on paper, the AIM-9P has a slightly better range than the R550, but in a practical sense out in matches, the Magic is almost always the better weapon. It turns harder, it tracks better, has a bigger warhead, and it's slightly faster. The AIM-9P might be a good pick if you go out of your way and prefer to set up direct tail chases for your missile shots, but if you're gonna use your heat seekers in any kind of turn fights, just stick to the R550 and forget the Sidewinders are even there. And just to be really clear about something, there have been a few comments in my other reviews kind of making fun of me for loading bombs onto fighters like I'm some kind of an idiot who doesn't know that a wing full of bombs is going to kneecap your performance. It's intentional, folks. I try to demonstrate using the planes as grinders with different types of weapons for different playstyles, not just configured for pure air superiority all the time. With the A-5C, there aren't too many weapon loadouts to demonstrate, which is why I didn't switch that up much in the footage here. The A-5C comes fully upgraded, so the use case for this is generally going to be grinding RP to unlock other planes in the Chinese tech tree, not unlocking upgrades for itself before you can just switch to an air superiority layout when you're fully spaded. In my experience, you can do this best by taking the loadout of 4 bombs and 2 missiles. The rocket pods aren't super useful in air battles and just give you extra drag even after you empty them, since they stay attached to the pylons, they don't dump off or anything like that. On the other hand, with the dumb bombs, if you get sucked into a turn fight before your bombing run, you can always just ditch the bombs to get rid of the dead weight. So going out with the bombs gives you the flexibility to hit some stuff on the ground without committing you to the extra weight and drag like the rocket pods do. In practice, using the 4 bombs plus 2 magics loadout, I was able to fully grind out one of the other Chinese jets in just one afternoon of dedicated grinding. So if you're interested in getting a premium plane to grind out Chinese aviation, this is a much better choice than the Shenyang F5, since you can almost always get a baseline minimum level of RP with the A-5C by going in for some ground targets right at the start of a mission, so that even if you get shot down early on, you'll still get something for points. Now, the A-5C is still a very light attack plane with a small weapon load. So you aren't going to be able to take out a strategic base on your own or anything like that, and your RP per hour will reflect your lighter weapon load. But having 2 credible missiles and a modest amount of countermeasures gives you a realistic chance to get an air kill or 2 for more points during a match. In terms of performance, the A-5C flies almost exactly like the regular Q-5 jets. Landing performance is pretty good, speed is average for a transonic jet, and if you're careful in managing your throttle and air brake, you can dogfight better than most other attack jets. Not as good as a pure fighter, but better than something like the Buccaneer. You'll at least have a fighting chance if you get good with dogfighting in this plane, and you can take it out with the loadout of just the 2 IR missiles, but you can also just stick to the 4 bombs 2 missiles loadout and dump the bombs if the situation warrants it. Going out as close air support in ground battles basically means you're going to be using your rockets, which, remember, you're getting more of soon. There is still no ballistics computer, and the 4 bombs are pretty light in addition to being quite difficult to aim. So, unless you do suicide dives or something, your primary weapon as air support in ground battles is gonna be the rocket pods. It takes some practice to figure out how to aim the rockets. Again, no CCIP, and they're not super accurate, so just have realistic expectations. The visuals on the A-5C are pretty average. You'll get some interesting skins, including one from the Sudan if you got this through the pre-order pack, so that's kind of unique. One major gripe though, the afterburners. They look terrible, even on pretty high graphics settings. This isn't unique to this plane. A handful of others have pretty bad looking afterburners, but it's really noticeable on the A-5C to the point of being distracting, since all of the camo patterns you get are all very dark and they're a very high contrast against your engine exhaust. The cockpit is basically the same as the Q5s, so there's really nothing new there. That's about all there is to the A-5C. It's the Q5, but finally gets missiles and comes as a premium. But I want to share something extra. This jet sits at battle rating 10.0. That means you're going to spawn into fights full of premium Drakens and Harriers. The Drakens aren't as bad as you might think, because frankly most people haven't really figured out how to use them yet, and the premium one has pretty crappy missiles. But the Harriers are still everywhere, and they're a problem. If you've played above BR 9.0 in Air RB, you probably realize that the Harriers are a cancer to the meta. They get an air spawn, and AIM-9Gs or SRAMs. Just cancer. There's good news though. This plane gets an air spawn, has a pair of high-performance infrared missiles, and can outturn the Harriers. I'm very pleased to inform you that the C in A-5C stands for chemotherapy.